speakers work? Well, we're going to investigate that today. Before we make our project, we're going to learn a little bit more how speakers work. Now, remember that, we all have ears. Some people have 2, some people have 1, like Van Gogh. Some people don't have any ears. But some of us may, whatever number of ears we have this little tube inside our ear. You cannot see it. Even if you look inside, you can see a little bit what's on the inside, like when you go to the doctor and they check your ears and they can see a little bit inside, but overall it's kind of hard to see the inside of our ears. Now, inside our ears, there's this little drum, and when sound comes through to that little drum, it wiggles. It wiggles a lot if it's loud, it wiggles a little if it's quiet sound coming through. Now, when that eardrum wiggles and makes vibrations, sound goes to our brain, a signal of sound goes to our brain, and our brain begins to process what that sound's being said. Now, someone can yell at our ear, something like, "Hey," or "How's it going?" or "What's your name?" But for this instance, we're going to have them yell, "Hey," to our ear, and our little ear, it's like a little speaker diaphragm the sound goes into the ear, and it goes down our little ear tunnel into our drum. It goes, eventually translates to our brain, and our brain goes, "Oh, that person said, hey." And we can process it, and we might reply, "Hey," back, or we just go, "Yep, acknowledge that, hey." Now, this is all similar to the speakers that we see every day, whether it's coming from your computer or from like a phone device or a TV or a video game and various other things. So you might be thinking, with the speaker, you might need someone to talk to the speaker for something to hear it, but it quite doesn't work like that. It's a little bit backwards compared to our ear and our eardrum. So we got our little diaphragm, which is the little speaker part that we usually call, but speaker's much more than that. And let's say we have a computer hooked up to the speaker. Now the computer is sending sound through that speaker. Let's say, again, to use the same example before, saying, "Hey," and it goes to the speaker, and if we're close and listening to it, we can hear "hey" coming right out of the speaker. It can be maybe surprise you or maybe leave you wondering, how does exactly the sound turn into from a computer sound turn into physical sound that we can hear? Well, we're going to look into that as we create our own little speakers, but we're going to look in the inside of the speaker for a little bit before we start our project. We got our diaphragm again. We're going to call this our cone. Sometimes it's flat like a disc, sometimes they're plastic, sometimes they're paper. We're going to be using a cup with our project today as our cone, and we're going to call this the ear. The next part of the speaker is that there's a coil. We're going to call this the eardrum piece. This coil is usually made with copper, be wrapped around either magnets or just anything, and that coil is sometimes set on top of our cone. Sometimes it's the part not touching the cone. You can actually make it backwards if you want. Next part, we have some wires connecting to our speaker here to the coil where we got our audio source in there. And we're missing one last piece before this whole thing works here, and that is the magnet. The magnet here is what really changes the game on everything. So we have this little, like some air going through in and out the cone. The magnet is what really makes that air move. So what's happening, just like with our ears, is that there's little vibrations coming from the magnet, with the magnet to the coil, just like with our ears, and that is what makes the sound go through. It's little vibrations sending signal out of the speaker, making a sound, and into our brain, making more vibrations so we hear the sound. And that's how speakers work. So let's go ahead and get started working on our project next. Here is what our project today is going to look like. We're going to be making speakers out of a few supplies we found in our take and make. If you do not like watching a video, you can always look at the little one-piece paper that has a link to the website that has the one page so you can read the instructions out loud. Now we're going to get started and list the items that you should have for this project. First and foremost, you should have a little slip of paper with a list of supplies, including the tech kit with a link to the website. If you're watching this video, you obviously have gotten the little paper slip. Next, you should have a magnet. It is a ceramic magnet. It's a little bit more stronger than the fridge magnets, but still pretty weak. Next, we have a copper wire. You will notice that the ends of this copper wire are a little miscolored, and that's because we sanded off the ends so we can have a direct electric contact. Next, you should have a sheet of electric tape. Then we have the aux cord. There's going to be 3 cords on it, but we'll only use the black cord and the red cord on the inside. Ignore the white cord. And finally, we have a paper cup in the bag, and you can decorate it how you wish. For some optional supplies, we have glue, some scissors. If you are a young child, make sure to have a grown-up with you working with the adult scissors. And next we have some tape. It doesn't have to be electric tape for the cords, because we provided it for you. It can be regular tape. And what is not included in the visual right here is that you also need a tube of some sorts. That is really optional, but it'll be good to have for the upcoming parts. We'll start with grabbing our copper. We will want to unwrap it all the way. And you may find that it's a little twisted on the top here. Just make sure to carefully untwist the wire and not rip it apart. If you rip it apart, you can always contact DoSpace for more wire. And after we got this all unwrapped here, we need to leave some space off of the end. So look for the ends, they're more coppered colored rather than red. That's because the red part is the part that protects you and doesn't shock you with electricity. Don't worry, right now it's not connected to any electricity. But leave a little bit of space at the end, probably the length of your finger. And you can either wrap the wire around your finger or a magnet, or what I like to use is wrap it around the tube. So I grabbed one of these pointer sticks that we have left over here at DoSpace. We use to show people where things are on the computers. But yeah, you leave some extra space, as I said before, on the wire, probably length of your finger. And I just wrapped as much as I can of the wire into the other end, and the same thing with this first start of the end. We want to leave a bunch of extra space not wrapped on both ends of this wire, because we're going to be wrapping that wire to our aux cable. And after you've got it all wrapped, you can pull off the coil, because now we got like a little coil here, and when you pull it off, we can take each end and wrap each end on the inside of our coil, so the coil won't get unraveled when we let go of it. And there we have it. We have made our coil. Now grab your coil, your electric tape, and your aux cable. In one hand, grab the coil, and the other hand, grab your aux cable. Pay attention to the 3 cables coming out of the aux cable. There's a black wire, a red wire, and a white wire. As stated before, we're ignoring the white wire. Take one of the ends of the copper coil and wrap it around the exposed wire on the black wire that's hanging out. On the end, you will notice there's this little silver exposed wire. You want to make sure that the copper part is making contact with the silver wire that's sticking out of the black casing. Next, take the other end of your coil and wrap it around the exposed wire on the red casing coming out of the aux cable. And again, make sure the copper part is making contact with the silver wire, not the red part of the copper, because that part doesn't let electricity go through. You want the copper that's inside the red enamel casing there. Now, after you got it all wrapped up securely, you can take your electric tape and press it around the wrappings, and make sure you press all the way through so you can make sure there is constant contact happening between the exposed copper and the exposed silver wire. If they're not making direct contact, there might be some type of piece in there that's blocking electricity to go through the aux to the coil, and we really need that electricity to run through from the aux cable through the coil to make those vibrations on our paper cup. After you got all that wrapped up, carefully grab your coil and tape it to the top of your paper cup. You can glue it on top, but it's a lot safer to use tape instead in case we make any mistakes here. Now this next part's optional how you want to do it. We still have our magnet. You can either set the magnet on top of the copper coil and tape it on top, or you can just have it like in your hand hanging out. Now the copper and the magnet can't directly touch each other or you won't hear any sound. After that, you can plug in the speaker to an audio source. Can be an old MP3 player, a computer, a phone with an aux port, anything that you can plug into. And once you plug it in, you can hold the cup over your ear and play the sound, and you can try adjusting the magnet, moving it far away and closer to the coil to hear the sound. Congratulations! You have made a speaker out of a paper cup, some wire, a magnet, and a aux cable. Now we do have a stronger speaker. If you're wondering how to make your own speaker louder, it requires a lot of fiddling here, or you can use some stronger magnets. Now we didn't give you these magnets because they can be dangerous to small children. The magnet we provide you is a ceramic magnet that won't hurt you as much, but these magnets are really hard to pull apart. These are earth metal magnets. So instead of using the ceramic magnet, I use this magnet to make my speaker louder. Now you notice it's not super loud, like you'll hear speakers out of your phone, and that's because we still have to do a lot of adjustments. So with your own speaker, you make adjustments to try to make it louder and record your findings. It might have something to do with making a bigger coil. Maybe instead of wrapping the wires together with tape, maybe you want to solder them together. Maybe you want a different aux cable, or maybe you want a different diaphragm instead of using a paper or plastic diaphragm. Maybe you can look up into finding diaphragms that can make more vibrations through it, and various other things. Well, thank you very much for watching this video, and please share with us how you liked your project.
Thanks for joining us for this DoSpace Summer Take and Make. We'd love to see your version. Take a picture or video and share with us on social media or email us at programs@dospace.org. Make sure to go to dospace.beanstack.org to mark that you created this Take and Make.